My name is Jess Carey, and I'm here in Gede at a beautiful organic Moringa farm representing Kalot as we install biogas for Papu Harun and his team who are growing organic Moringa. And one of their challenges has been accessing fertilizer for their farms. And so the intention here is to have biofertilizer available on site for their team to be able to lead in the growth of these organic trees. So today we're going to have a look at the farm as well as the biogas installation and learn about how biogas works in regards to organic farming. So, Papu, thank you so much for having us to your beautiful farm.
You're very welcome.
And yeah, tell us a little bit about this farm and your whole operation. I know you have many farms on the coast here that are all organic. And so tell us a little bit about your operation and what got you interested to begin with in Moringa farming.
Well, nothing like a growing business to get a businessman interested. And that's exactly how it happened. Back in 2015, we were advised, we found out that Moringa is a high growth commodity product, agricultural product, and lo and behold, it does extremely well. In fact, it's endemic here at the coast. And that means that for generations, people have been growing Moringa trees on their small farms. And so we didn't really introduce anything new here, but Moringa is something that has been grown in this area on smallholder farms, generations. People around here say, you know, if you want to know about your Moringa, ask your grandmother. So it has a long history. And so we discovered that it was mainstreaming in global markets. Okay. And so it just turned out to be an extremely fortuitous sort of combination of a plant that local smallholder farmers have been growing, very familiar with, use it for nutrition, use it for health maintenance, suddenly becomes the darling of high growth, high value markets from California to the other end of the planet. So we as it were jumped on that bandwagon. We figured this is a great thing to do, not only as a business, as a profitable business, but also combines, by working with the local people, combines an ability to support them as well. So to add to, as it were, connect them to a global market. So not just a plant they know, but a plant they can now sell and turn it into a cash crop. So that was the opportunity, and we grabbed it. This farm is a full production facility, but it's also a training facility. Okay. It's also where we bring the farmers to show them best practices. And on that note, that's why we decided to install our first biodigester from Kalot on this farm, because that's going to help us, as you mentioned, with our fertilizer. We're an organic farm. We're USDA and European Union certified. We cannot use synthetic fertilizers or pesticides or really anything. So we had a significant issue. One of the big problems here at the coast is the soil is not good. It's sandy, low nutrition soil. And so you really need to, if you're going to do commercial farming, the soil quality, soil health is, top of the priority list.
Definitely.
And we looked at all kinds of alternatives. We looked at organic, certified organic, synthetic fertilizer, and all kinds of things. And we really came to the conclusion that a biodigester just checks all the boxes. Because not only, as you know, Jess, not only are we talking organic fertilizer, but we're also talking biogas. And biogas can be used for, just all kinds of things, right? So it's a double header here. On top of that, we then are able to, in our case, use some of our process wastes, the waste that we get from processing Moringa, as feedstock for the biodigester. And although that's a bit of a trial program right now, if that really works out, then what we're going to have is an absolutely perfect circular economy, a zero waste model that Not only does the biodigester produce fertilizer, which helps the plants to grow, which gives us more product, which does give us more waste, which we can then put back into the biodigester. So it really just goes around in a perfect circle. And so the facility over here is a proving ground for those models, but also a working Moringa leaf farm.
So Papu, thanks so much for sharing all of that. And what I'm hearing you say is you basically, instead of reinventing the wheel with this Moringa farming business, what you've done is take a plant that has been cultivated and grown here for many generations, and you've made it in a way that these local people can receive a livelihood and increase their livelihoods. Because here on the coast, many people rely on tourism, right? And when that, especially back in COVID, when that kind of crashed, having a way to sell their product that they were growing anyway and learning best practices for organic farming is a great way to support the local community and what you call these circular economies, which is one of the things that brought me to Kenya, okay, to begin with 3 years ago, is organic farming. I heard about biogas and I thought, oh, that's great. So what we can do is we can get people off of firewood, charcoal, and even LPG, kerosene. People are cooking with kerosene inside their homes, and they're getting COPD and dying early, very painful deaths. And so that's one thing that brought me here was not only the gas, but the organic fertilizer. Okay, so when I was working with Kenyans all over the country, one of their biggest expenses to farming was synthetic fertilizers. And people were getting sick because they don't know how much to use, they're using it improperly and mixing it with other things, and the plants are still sick, right? And so they spend all this money and they have this product that, again, is covered in synthetic chemicals. So I was really excited to work with a product that yields an organic fertilizer. So I'm so glad that we were able to get connected and make this work for your farm.
Sure.
Now, let me ask you, because I know that you're working now, you've received a grant from KEMSED and the World Bank. And I wanted to ask you more about how this circular economy would work if, for example, we were able to integrate biogas in some of your other farms. What could that mean for these farmers that you work with?
Yeah, you made a number of points there, Jess. Let me try and touch upon some of them. One of them, when you mentioned the biogas, this is being an organic farm. Our customers, these are all export customers in Europe, the United States, and further afield, are very particular in terms of what the plant, what kind of contaminants can or cannot be contained in the plant, and they test rigorously. And this is one thing a lot of people don't realize, just how serious you have to be about contamination if you're going to access global organic markets. And the biogas is a perfect example of how you can eliminate potential contamination on a farm. I mean, quite literally, in our case, if our farm workers cook on a what they call a jiko here, so a charcoal stove, an outdoor charcoal stove, they could contaminate themselves with certain chemistry, certain chemicals, or effluent from these cooking, from the smoke and they can contaminate themselves where they are not able to handle the leaf in the leaf processing.
Wow.
Yeah, we've quite literally been advised once or twice that, hey, customer has found certain, these are trace elements in the Moringa powder that we supply, and they go, where did this come from? And through investigation, we found, well, somebody was burning or cooking or using charcoal or wood on the farm, and that the smoke somehow, and I mean trace amounts, got into the Moringa leaf, and frankly, the customer will reject that. So the biogas that we get is a huge advantage in terms of eliminating open fires or open burning. In other words, it's a clean alternative to having cooking or any kind of energy, that you need, burning energy. And like I said, that's a big one for us. One of the biggest issues or costs for smallholder farms is actually fertilizer. So imagine a world in which your neighbor is a supplier of fertilizer, of organic fertilizer. He's going to charge you what you can afford, and he's going to be permanently available. There's not going to be any issues of you just not being able to get it. And it is made from entirely organic materials. So we're solving a number of problems on the individual. We're number one, we're providing them with an income, so that's one bottom line. Second bottom line is that they get the biogas and the fertilizer for their own farm. So that's a second bottom line they get out of it. And the third one comes in when they sell the biogas to their neighbors and to their communities. So quite literally, they can bottle it, they can put it in these 5-liter containers, and quite literally sell it on market day to their communities. And suddenly everyone's a winner here. And for the community, if you look at take it further out, the community is able to effectively keep the capital that they have, which is not a lot. I mean, we're talking small amounts of money. Instead of spending that on buying expensive fertilizer from wherever, they are now effectively getting the same product from people within their own community. So the community is simply recycling their capital within itself. And that builds up resilience within the community. Money stays within it, and money moves through the community, which really, like I said, ends up being a win-win. So the biodigester is a key piece of equipment for us. We really, really think that it's not only going to help us on our farm here, but that it is going to be a game changer in terms of what we call trading communities, and in effect creating small village-level entrepreneurship where people learn how to make biogas, make biofertilizer, but not only that, then actually build small enterprises in which they can sell, market, and respond to customer demand to do that. And the World Bank is sponsoring that right now. If people are able to, if we can build a capacity within the communities, the World Bank will fund these initiatives, and we hope to install a whole bunch of your stuff with our farmers.
That's excellent. So if you calculate the amount of money you spend on firewood, LPG, and charcoal, the prices are only going up with the economy and things. So when you install a biodigester, you basically have your own plant that produces clean cooking and produces this organic fertilizer. And one of the things that you're saying is that when a farmer gets the system, they're not only supporting a solution for their own farm. This to me is just, it's a great example, especially here on the coast where deforestation is rampant.
Soils are, weak, poor.
It's dry, so imagine you cut this tamarind tree down today. We're not going to see a tree grow that large again in our lifetime. And so I love what you're doing here with the community, and we're just really honored and grateful to be a part of this and to work with you. And what's great about this system is, especially for small-scale farmers, is it has a 5-year warranty. It comes in 2 easy-to-unpack boxes. So this is just, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I want to add to what you're saying there, Jess. I want to point one more thing out in terms of the impact on the community. Firewood and charcoal making, and it has all kinds of problems associated with it. You mentioned the cost, which when you look at it, as you say, in terms of the whole package, is more expensive than other solutions. And look at the health costs as well. As you say, I mean, the smoke that's coming out of these things is, you might as well be smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Exactly.
But there's one more that we discovered. And that is the impact on women and girls in particular. Because in our setting, I don't know whether this is possibly a global phenomenon, but certainly in our setting, it's the women and girls who go and collect the firewood. Okay, those are the guys, the people who have to go out, who have to take their time, obviously carrying bundles of firewood on their backs. You end up with major issues. At 40 years old, women are doubled over, and then the burden of children and the farm itself. So firewood is a major impactor on the gender roles here in Africa, and certainly here at the coast. And one of the most painful negative impacts that we discovered is that a lot of the girls are subject to sexual violence when they are collecting firewood. They literally need to leave the home, go to remote places where firewood, and some of these women suffer violence, suffer all the way to rape, and then of course pregnancy if that happens, and there's a life gone, practically, simply because she was out there collecting firewood. So even though we're not going to end that practice once and for all, but any contribution that we as a company can make, given that 80%, more than 80% of our farmers are indeed women, and with a lot of girls, and given if we can impact the pathologies, the social pathologies that impact these people, these women and girls.
Well, I'm so much an advocate for the fact that biogas, actually biodigesters, can save lives, because I have met many women who have been subject to injuries, and I don't know if you've heard recently here in the last year, 3 people have been killed in this forest collecting firewood. Trampled by elephants.
Yes.
So you can imagine that this is a systemic problem all over the continent.
Oh yes.
And I'm so excited. When I was looking at biogas statistics 2 years ago, it was less than 5% of Kenya was running on biogas. And I'm someone very passionate about moving that needle.
Right.
Because I believe it is the holistic alternative that we have been waiting for.
Well,
and if only the community could understand that it is more affordable than what they're using now, I know more and more farmers are going to jump on board. Well, and so this is a great. I love that we're going to be able to showcase how easy it is. Not only affordable. I mean, we even have financing that can work for anyone's budget. And so, thank you so much for giving your time, energy, and also access to this education and training. Because what you're really doing is planting a seed for what could become a really big impact on the coast here. So, I can't thank you enough for being the pioneer.
Not at all. Not at all. I just want to mention one more thing. As you mentioned, the partner that with the partners that we're working with right now, we're working with the World Wildlife Fund for in terms of conservation, but in particular the World Bank. And I want to mention them. I want to call them out because they're supporting a very widespread. They want to reach 22 or I think 25,000 households in our area or in the coastal area. A very widespread program of increasing and enhancing livelihoods among fisher communities. So you got the fishermen out there. The project is called Kempstead. It's a fisheries focused project, but what they realize is that you can support the fishing sector, but if you're not supporting the villages and homes where, farms where they come from, you've only really solved half the problem.
You got it.
And so they really put a lot of money. I think it's something on the order of $30 to $50 million is going towards livelihood development among fisher community farmers where they come from.
I see.
And so I want to call them out in particular because they're very seriously supporting us. In fact, the installation we're doing today is something that we're doing under their umbrella, under their auspices. And if we can succeed at what we're doing with the biodigester, and in particular the model I mentioned, the circular model of using our bio-wastes or processing wastes as feedstock for a biodigester, which turns it into fertilizer, which increases the output of a farm. And here we go again. It is an extremely virtuous cycle. And the World Bank is supporting that. And if we're lucky and if everything works out for us, we really think that the biodigester technology that you have is really, as I had said before, a magic bullet to create a whole new model of manufacturers interacting with smallholder farms versus everything under one roof, one plantation, and that's all it is. If you are working with outgrowers, you want to include them in as much of the production process as possible. And one of the areas we think is really a way to do that is through the bio-waste that agriculture produces. That can always be turned into something useful. And instead of the company wasting its time or spending its time doing that, if you involve your outgrower communities, you find that not only are you giving them an extra form of income, but you're also teaching them some valuable skills. You're also building the entrepreneurship, and you're building trade among communities, which is, beats fighting. So people who are trading tend to be a lot more peaceful towards each other than the alternative. So I do want to mention and also give a big thanks to our partners, the World Bank, and the Kenya government, who are also involved in this. The county governments are involved in this as well. So Kilifi County, Government of Kenya, World Bank, let's get this done. And with you guys, we think we have the means to do that now.
Well, biogas gives you clean cooking and free organic fertilizer, which is called biofertilizer. So please, reach out with your questions. We are so excited to be bringing this technology here to the coast where drought is a problem, where fertilizer is a problem. I'm standing here on a very sandy soil, which is why this farmer has joined us to add biogas to their farm. It's to increase their access to fertilizer as well as protect their farm workers from smoke. So now here we have clean cooking, free fertilizer, and they're saving money. Thousands and thousands of shillings a year by switching to biogas. So we welcome you to come with your questions. We'd love to visit your farm and see how biogas can work for you.